History of Fabliau. Today we're gonna discuss it. First, the definition of Fabliau. It is defined as a short narrative, usually an octasyllabic verse between 300 to 400 lines long, and its content is comic and satiric with the sexual background and love. Here, narrative. We have the word here narrative. Narrative means here a story or an account of events, octasyllabic, having 8 syllables. What is syllable? Syllable means here a unit of pronunciation having one vowel sound with or without surrounding consonants forming the whole part of a word, that is water. Means in the water we have only one vowel sound. So let's start the history of Fabliau. In France, it was flourished in the 14th century, and in the 13th century. In England, it was popularized in the 14th century. It was later compared to a short story. Douglas Bush, the long-time professor at the Harvard University, called it a short story. Fabliau has no direct literary origin in West, and it was brought from the East by returning crusaders in the 12th century. The closest literary genre of Fabliau found in the People. What is People? People is a story. In the People of, or in the story of Aesop. Who was Aesop? The Greek storyteller, right? The Greek storyteller, and has less moral talk or morality at the beginning, right? In terms of morality, it seems that it is closer to the novel rather than parable. So here we're gonna compare the novel with the parable. Novel, as I have already told you, that Fabliau is associated with the love and sex, and novel is also associated with the love and sex. That is why there is relevance between the novel and the Fabliau. And parable is different from these two. Parable, a simple story used to illustrate moral or spiritual lesson, right? According to the Robert Lewis, some French Fabliau is having an explicit morals. It means there is moral somewhere in the French Fabliau. Afterward, it was used, means Fabliau was used by the medieval priests in the church, as the popularity of the Fabliau increased. The churches of the medieval period also prepared its own genre similar to Fabliau that adapted valuable or moral thoughts rather than the scandalous talk, right? When the Fabliau gradually disappeared at the beginning of the 16th century, it was replaced by the prose and short story. Here you can have the question, that is, what would be the subject? What was the subject matter of Fabliau, right? So let's discuss here the subject matter of Fabliau. The subject matter of Fabliau is sex and love. It is aptly categorized as scandalous tale meant to satirize, meant to satirize, like satirize the character. We have here example from the Chaucer's Miller's Tale. Here we have Miller's Tale, Reeve's Tale, and Cook's Tale, the wife of Boss Tale, which is the example of Fabliau. But here in this video lecture, I'm gonna uh, discuss only Miller's Tale as an illustration of Fabliau, right? This is the second tale in the Canterbury Tale, which is written by Chaucer, the famous tale of Chaucer. Miller here tells the story about a poor student named Nicholas who pursues or entices landlord's wife. She was young, and her name is Eloisance, to spend the night with him. He means Nicholas, convinces his landlord, who is also a carpenter, whose name is John, that the second plot is coming, and sees him to spend a night in a tub hanging from the ceiling of his barrow. Another boy, whose name is Absalom, is also in love with her, means Alison, appears outside of the window of the room where Nicholas and Alison's are sleeping together. When Absalom begs Alison for a kiss, she puts her bottom outside of the window in the dark and let him kiss her. Absalom runs and got a hot metallic rod and returned to the window and asked to kiss or ask another kiss. And now this time Nicholas sticks his bottom out of this window, and pot Absalom sticks that hot metallic rod on the boutique of Nicholas, right? Nicholas cries for water, and makes the carpenter think that the plurhead has come, so that carpenter got the ropes from the ceiling and falls from the roof and break his arm. So this was the story, which is based on sex, so that it is an example of Fabliau, right? So this comes to an end.